But really quickly, Felipe, for those of you who know him,
Shout out to
he's
Felipe.
a DA guy, and he's like, man, what are you doing? Because then I started posting on IG, hey, if you need a cold caller, let me know. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm finding people cold call. He's like, so you just find a cold call and you just give it to them? I'm like, yeah, and I charge them some money and that's it. He's like, but what happens if they don't work out? I don't know. He's like, why don't we just take a step back and make this into a business? And going back to my zone of genius is finding the right people and connecting them to the right people, right? That was my zone of genius. Felipe's zone of genius was to have a vision and plant it in the future in terms of what this could look like. So we came together and we're like, all right, we're onto something.
Look at me, habibi. Dubai Jeep, let's get it. Look at me, habibi. Dubai Jeep, let's get it. Bags, expensive.
Don't touch me. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Nah, I have to back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Alhamdulillah, look at the way I managed to stack it up. MJ.
Habibi, hop in the Lamborghini. I'm needy, on me only, I'm needy. Habibi, hop in the Lamborghini.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stroke of Success podcast YouTube channel. Pretty soon we'll come in on Spotify and Apple Music, so stay tuned. Today's guest is an interesting guest. I met this gentleman probably back in 2021. It was an event happening in Jacksonville, Florida. My wife at that time got heavy into real estate investing. I'm a real estate guy. So like, you know what, let's go check this event out. It was a mastermind in Jacksonville. And we're hanging out in this nice little Airbnb. The host had the event host had rented for everyone. And there's this handsome guy sitting in the kitchen talking, and I sat next to this guy. I'm like, dude, you're really smart. And we had a really good conversation. And from that time, I think we became friends and we stayed in touch. And I don't know, your girlfriend and I talk quite a bit on IG. She's also same politically aligned as I am. So we get along on that quite a bit. We were talking, we should all have dinner, me, my wife, and you and your girl, next time we're in Miami. We should do that. But yeah, we're very much aligned politically, if you know what I mean. I'm going to keep that out of here. But Anthony, welcome to Stroke of Success. Thank you for jumping on. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you for coming on board.
Thank you, my man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Do you remember the first time we met?
I do. I definitely do, man. So
interesting. It's a good time. It's a very good event. We learned a lot. The biggest thing I got out of that mastermind is how many people we made friends and we connected. So many people, man. So many people. And most of them I interview on the show. And let's go back to history, man. Where were you born?
Yeah, man. I was born in a country that not many people know about. It's called Uzbekistan.
Yes, I know.
Tashkent. But I lived there only 6 years, and I moved to Russia when I was a kid. And then when I was 11, I moved to the United States. So I consider myself Americanized Russian. All my Russian friends were like, you're not Russian, man. You're American.
Yeah. How old were you when you got to America?
I was 11 years old.
Wow. Okay. What city, state did you move to?
I moved to Tucson, Arizona, and the only reason we moved there is because my grandpa lived there. So he kind of called us over, helped us out a bit to get situated. And Tucson, Arizona. But I got out of there as quickly as I could. Now I live in Miami, Florida.
So that happened quite a bit, right? Like I'm born in America, but my parents from Pakistan, and they always go to the city and state where they have family. And most immigrants go to New York, Chicago, California. So Arizona, that's the first time I'm hearing that. That's interesting. Good stuff. So from Tucson, Arizona to Miami.
Yep.
How was that transition?
One of the best things I've ever done in my life. It was scary because I moved to Miami. So I graduated college in 2010. I came here for 5 days of vacation. Yeah. My ex-wife at the time and I came here for 5 days of vacation. I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with an energy. And I told my wife back then, I was like, look, I look forward to living here one day. Maybe we can live. And this was just graduated college. And we went back to Arizona, Tucson, Arizona. We're sitting at dinner and she's like, I think I want to move to Miami. I'm like, all right, great, let's do it. But let's do it in a couple of years because I need to get situated. I just got graduated. I got my first job. She's like, I want to go now. So KB, just to let you know, we came here in May. We moved in September. We just packed everything up and said, you know what? Forget it. We got to do this move. We're young. We're hungry. This is the place we got to be. and we moved, and I never looked back. It's one of the best cities in my life that I've been.
Same thing. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and moved to South Florida, Miami, about year 2000, 21, 22, never looked back. And after that, a lot of people started following me from New York and all places now. You know what's happening in Florida right now. How old were you when you got to Florida, when you moved?
I was 24 years old.
24. Okay, I was about 20, so same thing. What'd you do? What type of job? What school? What'd you do?
Yeah, I mean, I graduated with a finance degree, and my dream was to become a banker. I saw the Wolf of Wall Street movie. I said, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to work on Wall Street. I'll start in Miami, and then I'll work my way up to New York one day. And then, yeah, Miami was just a warm place. We didn't want to go to New York because of the weather. So we thought Miami is the second finance capital on the East Coast of the U.S. So we decided, you know what, let's go ahead and start here. So I moved to Miami without any experience of a job. I worked for a couple of months in a bank in Arizona, and I moved here, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go get a job at a bank and grow my career. And every bank that I went to at the time, it was 2010, financial situation was still kind of tricky for the finance market. And every bank that I went to, the first question that I got is, ¿Tú hablas español? And my answer was just a big smile, like, no. No. And yeah, so I didn't realize how connected Miami was to the South American financial system. So you have to know Spanish.
Yes.
So I sat in a month on my ass trying to find a job. I couldn't find a job, so I went to work at a restaurant.
Wow.
That's what I did in college. I'm like, I got to make some money. I'm paying $2,500 in rent. I'm not making money. I got to make some income. Let's just go and get a job in a restaurant. That's what I did for a couple of years. I'm sorry, not a couple of years, a couple of months. I'm sorry, a couple of years. For a couple of months, and then I got a job I applied for, because then I just started applying anywhere and everywhere that I could, KB, because again, I just needed income. And nobody would hire you because you didn't know Spanish and you didn't have experience. Finance market was still kind of shaky at the time. And long story short, I applied for a Russian-speaking chemical engineering translator. I have no clue what I never had a class in chemical engineering, chemistry, maybe back in high school. And I just like, screw it. I speak Russian. Let's go ahead and apply. I'll become a translator. At least I'll be better than working in a restaurant. And I got an interview. They said, hey, we like you. We want you to be a business development manager.
Wow. Okay.
Whatever that means. Sure.
Impressive.
Yeah. And I started working for this company in Miami. Not many people know it. It's a smaller chemical engineering company. But my first week on the job, my boss comes into my office and says, hey, can you go to China next week?
Oh, man.
I swear, man. I was like,
wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they put me in my second week of work. They put me on a plane to Hong Kong. I spent 2 weeks in Hong Kong working there. They have an office, training, all that good stuff. And that is where my career began. I just started traveling the world. I fell in love with going to places, meeting new people, just having this energy attracted. And I just developed this. I'm big on mindset. And I'm like, all right, I got to put my mindset to traveling the world and developing relationships. And that's exactly what I did for 10 years. I did exactly that for 10 years. With this chemical engineering company, I learned as I went. Honestly, KB, it wasn't hard because I was already working with people that knew what they were doing. All I was doing was just connecting the dots. We were finding distributors, and I would just go to different countries, build relationships. That's probably my number one strength, is I could build relationships really easy and connect people together, and then let them thrive. And that's exactly what I did. I traveled over 40 countries in 10 years.
40 countries?
Yeah. Right now, I'm at 45 countries of my list of where I've been. So I keep track now.
Question, you make good money?
I did. Yeah. So I got to a point where I was making $120,000 a year in my income. Plus I was making commission. That was my base. And so I was making six figures. I was doing great. I was traveling for free, staying at nice hotels for free.
Eating for free.
I mean, it was a dream.
Yeah. Eating, probably have your meals covered too, right?
Everything. I was like this bachelor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably why my marriage broke off. I'm no longer married, but I was just traveling the world, and I would take my wife sometimes here and there. She wouldn't like it too much because I was working all the time.
Sure.
But meals, hotels, plane tickets. I was like, this is it. And then I got my MBA because I knew I wanted to climb more and one day become maybe a CEO of a company. I knew I wanted to become a CEO of one company one day.
Sure.
So I was living the dream, to be honest with you. I had no worry about money, where I was going. And the only problem that I had is I got a divorce. But, things happen in life, and they do happen for a reason. So
10 years, I'm going to write this down, but we said some really good things here. Sure. 10 years you worked. And so I'm a big believer of law of attraction. Did you ever, as a growing up, did you have an intention to travel a lot? Or did you want to? Or was it in the back of your mind?
So I don't think when I was growing up, I don't think that was in the back of my mind. But when I experienced it firsthand, when I went to Hong Kong and all these other places, and I'm very big on law of attraction as well. I study a lot that mindset, what you think about, which you attract,
What you think about?
100,000% to your listeners. Do practice that. I'm a huge meditation guy, visualization guy, even today. And then back then, I started visualizing myself in the mirror. I would put on a suit and I'm like, all right, this week I'm going to Hong Kong. This week I'm going to Thailand. This week I'm going to Japan. This
There
week
you
I'm going
go.
to Greece. And like I just started thinking these things in my head, literally, and I was like, I'm going to attract this. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, I did. And it was cool.
That's my point right there to my audience. Please take notes, and I'm going to get back into, for anyone new to my show knows that, or anyone coming new to the show, I'm going to give you guys a heads up. My show is really based on mindset, and how to get over setbacks, and how your intentions, your thoughts can take you places, bad or good. Remember that it could be bad too. Back to you, Anton. So you're visualizing, you're in the mirror and suit on, 10 years of traveling. So you knew you love to travel. That was your thing. Okay. That's one thing you got out. Number two, relationships. You're amazing at it. Of course, we're talking. How did that then, what was the next step after the company, 10 years in the company?
So yeah, so everything was going according to plan. I knew that, I mean, in the back of my head, I always thought that, all right, this is great. I'm making good money, but I'm spending a lot. I'm not really building for my future. So I always had that dream in the back of my head. I was like, I need to start investing. I mean, whatever it is going to be, it's going to be stock market, real estate. Real estate always attracted me, KB. Just to take a step back, when I was 14 years old, I was working for a guy that was doing construction, and I went to him and I was like, dude, let me help you. Let me do whatever. He's like, dude, you're too young to get a job. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get a job. Just let me help you carry some boxes to the truck. Or I would start with like carrying like wood pieces from his truck to the place, because I was just hungry. I was 14 years old. And I worked for the summer as this handyman helper. He was a handyman, so everything was under the table, and he was paying me. And I remember when he gave me this $400 check that he wrote from his own name that he just gave me, and I was like, holy crap, that's the biggest amount of money. So I always knew that I liked the whole process of fixing houses, making houses from bad to looking good. So back then, right? And then when I was working this 10-year job, I forgot that. But I always had that in the back of my head. I was like, real estate attracted me. So while I was traveling, while I was doing this, I was just consuming content. Bigger Pockets, Rookie Podcast. That's how I met actually Felipe. Regular podcast, because back then he was a co-host. Felipe Mejia was a co-host.
I heard the story.
Mm-hmm. So I was just consuming things on a plane, reading books, and doing like, all right, I need to invest. But because of this traveling, I really didn't have a time. And then, boom, we had COVID hit. And that was the biggest, I guess, eye-opening experience in my life, because I think for many people. So I stopped traveling. KB, imagine traveling. I was traveling about 7 months of the year.
Wow.
Literally just nonstop. And I come to my
stop. Yeah. Full stop.
Well, yeah, so many places, and anywhere that they needed me, they just, Anton, you got to go here, you got to go here. Awesome, I'll do it. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden I was sitting in these four walls and not traveling for 2, 3, 6 months. And I was going crazy. Imagine doing this for 10 years. And I'm like, this is nuts. I got to do something. And this leads me to my next part of my journey is, like I said, I met Felipe. I was really big follower of Felipe on Instagram. I thought he had a lot of good insight into what he was teaching. Yeah. And I connected he was doing a live one day. He was doing his Instagram live, and he was in Daytona, Florida. I'm sitting on my couch in Miami, Florida, just kind of bored out of my mind, just like, I need to do something. And then his live comes up. I'll never forget this story. I text him a message like, hey, Felipe, when you're down in Miami, give me a holla. I'll take you out for a beer. And he was like, well, text me right after this call, or DM me right after this call. We'll connect. That's all he said. Awesome. Live finishes. I sent him a DM. Hey, Felipe, great meeting you. That's it. I didn't really think he was going to respond, honestly, because I'm sure so many people will text him. And then he's like, drop your phone number. So I did right away. 10 seconds later, he calls me. What's up, man? It's Felipe. I'm like, nah, get out of here. He's like, yeah, it's Felipe. I'm like, what's up, man? How you doing? It's crazy. I've been following your podcast, your shows. Man, you're awesome. He's like, yeah, brother, I'm doing this mastermind called Rat Race Defy. Why don't you go ahead and join our call tonight? I'm like, what? Why don't you go ahead and join our call tonight? And I said, all right. What time? He's like, it's in an hour. I'll send you the link. Okay. Like, and again, a lot of attraction, going back to what KB was saying, how I knew I wanted to do something. You don't usually know how it's going to happen, even traveling. I didn't know how I was going to, I mean, yeah, I was traveling, but I wasn't traveling as much as I really envisioned myself to and actually attracted myself to. So definitely consuming that content and reading those books, I think I attracted that to myself. And then literally I jumped on that Zoom call with him. He had a mastermind already, a pretty big one. I mean, you're familiar with it. I'm sure your listeners are as well. Long story short, I joined the mastermind. I started connecting with like-minded people, talking about like-minded things in terms of investing in real estate. I had no clue what real estate was back then in terms of how to invest in it other than buy and hold. Or the term back then, the sexy term was, what was it? How you share the rooms?
Yeah, I'm forgetting. I'm blanking out too.
Yeah. So when you buy a house and you just rent by the room and then you live there.
House hacking.
House hacking. Thank you. That was a sexy term back then.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I want a house hack. I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to rent by the room. Because honestly, I was like, I'm traveling. COVID's going to be over. I'll do it. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then that was like my first couple of months of looking for property. I'm going to house hack it, blah, blah, blah. And then one night we had an individual come on. I mean, you remember him, meeting him in Jacksonville, Gonzalo Corzo, which is Diego Corzo's brother. He came on the call and he started talking about wholesaling. And I'm like, what? This is wholesaling thing that he's talking about. And if, for those of you who know Gonzalo, he's a big shout out to him. He's a book of knowledge. He's an open book of knowledge. He will tell you everything. And he's just
amazing guy.
Yeah. Are you coming, by the way, KB, to Jacksonville next weekend?
No. Something happening again with those guys?
Yeah, we're throwing an event for REI call center clients. It's a free event. You don't have to pay, just got to get there.
Okay.
Gonzalo's going to be there. Name Taylor's going to be there. A few other people. But it's just to show appreciation, connect with like-minded people. So Jacksonville. So Gonzalo is a big wholesaler in Jacksonville. He did $8 million, I think, he did $4 million last year. He's on $8 million trajectory to do this year. Wholesaling, guys. For those of you who don't know wholesaling, what it is just putting a property under contract, then finding an investor and selling that contract to that investor, and then making a spread in between of the purchase price that you put the property under contract for and sold it to the investor. Usually that spread in between is anywhere, honestly, guys, between $2,000 to $12,000. But they can be lower than that, and they can be a lot higher than that. But those are on average, you're going to be between $2,000 to $12,000 per assignment fee. This guy did $4 million of those assignment fees in 1 year. So he was talking about wholesaling, and then I got excited. I was like, I want to learn more. So I text Diego right after the call. Hey, Diego, what do I got to do to get an hour of your brother's time? Whatever I got to pay, I'll find a deal. I'll do the whole process. He can keep the assignment fee, and I'll pay him for his time. And Diego shoots me a text back. And again, guys, going back, just a takeaway on this one is, don't be afraid to ask. A lot of people get intimidated by people and like, oh no, they probably don't have the time for me, or no, they're too busy, they're too important for me. Guys, get that out of your head and ask. You'll be surprised how many people are, especially successful people like myself, like KB, like Gonzalo, are open to helping people that are asking and that are really interested, that are hungry.
100%.
Of course, don't waste their time. Don't be like, oh, let me take you out for a coffee and pick your brain. Don't do that. Yeah. But add value. My value add was like, look, man, I'll find the deal for you. I'll do the whole process. You can keep the assignment fee. This is your business. Let me become the salesperson, like I did for the construction guy when I was young. Let me do the work, and then you pay me whatever you want to pay me. And I was even offering to pay him for his 1 hour of his time. So again, lead with value.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Take it 1 second, pause, and continue. Remember where you started from. I'm going to touch on something here. Felipe called you. You got so excited. So I think when I'm realizing social media can make you a local celebrity. The more you're on social media, the more you come. By the way, like Felipe is not a movie star. He's not a rock star. But he's so much on social media. His personality. The more and more you consume it. And when he called you, Anthony, like, oh, is that really you? I had those type of moments with people too, and because I'm like, why am I like? But that's the power of social media. I'll be honest with you, Anthony. For me, now you're that type of person now. I see you on social media traveling, and I get excited when I saw you today on a podcast because I see you so much, right? So it's the same type of thing we saw movie stars on the screen. We saw NBA players playing basketball. Use entrepreneurs must use social media all the time in the right way, because the more you use it, the more you put yourself out there, your brand will get bigger, and the better opportunities you will attract. Case in point, if Felipe wasn't as of a big personality on social media, and by the way, for those that don't know, he's a personality. He was on Burger Podcast. Burger Podcast, for those that don't know, is a huge podcast for wholesalers. It's their Bible. That's what they live by, right? And he was one of the co-hosts on there. He wrote chapters in books. So in his own way, he's a celebrity. But he wasn't like that always. He was moving. He was a mover, professional mover from trucks. And, I'm going to interview him soon too. But, so become a local celebrity in your world. Be the authority, provide value on social media, and you'll get people like Anton say, hey, I'll work for you. Let me do everything for you and bring you value. What do you think about that, Anton?
I completely agree with you. And let's just take a step back and focus on this a little bit more. I don't usually talk about this, but I truly believe that each one of us has some sort of genius inside themselves. They are either uncomfortable to express, they don't know they should be the one telling the story. But David, you're 100% right in terms of this, using the social media to tell your story, to tell your to show your. I mean, look, we all suck in the beginning. So in the beginning, we're gonna suck. You're gonna pull up your phone, you're gonna start taking videos, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it's probably gonna suck, and you're probably not gonna get a lot of views. You're gonna get discouraged. Forget all that. Don't look at the views. Don't look at how well you did it. Just do it and focus on your inner voice. Focus. Each one of us has something inside of them that we want to get out to the world, like KB is doing right now with his podcast. But we're afraid for some reason. Well, the biggest reason why we're afraid of it is because we think of what other people will think of us. 100%. That is one of the biggest killers, I think, in this society, is that in social media is that there's so much judgment out there that people are like, oh, well, this is not the right background, or this is not the right thing that I was going to say, or yes, 100% true. You have to add value, but don't just post anything and everything, but get this voice out of yourself. I really, really, really do think that each one of us has that genius inside of them that they can let out to the world and just post. And the biggest way that I think that I could recommend that you guys can get started on social media is what Gary Vee talks about. I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee, and this is his idea, and I'm not taking credit for it, but lead with a story. Record your story, your day-to-day, what it is that you're doing, what kind of lessons you're learning, what kind of books you're reading, where are you traveling, what are you seeing, who are you meeting. Record all that on social media. At least the rule is 1 post a day in terms of a reel or a post, and 3 to 6 stories per day. Because again, just like KB said, you want to let people know about you, and then a lot of people will connect with you, and a lot of people will reach out with you and use that as inspiration. Like KB was talking about myself when he was seeing me on social, and like Felipe, using that as an inspiration.
100%. You nailed it.
There's nothing subnormal between myself, Felipe, or KB. Nothing. Other than that, we decided to tell our story, add value to the world, and not worry what other people are going to think about us.
100%. I mean, Gary Vee, bro. Gary Vee, no handsome Tom Cruise or, Brad Pitt. These major influencers, entrepreneur influencers we all follow. Tony Robbins, man, like, he's tall, has a weird jaw. Like, who would have thought that these people will be today's day and age, like, rock stars? They're rock stars, social media rock stars. And they have huge following, and you start from here and they become over here. Felipe is no special either. I mean, he's a normal guy, but over time he's getting bigger and better. Ryan Panetta. I mean, if you go back to his original videos, man, the guy was struggling. So I'm with you, Anton. Amazing points you made. Just do it. Don't think about it. Do it. You're gonna fall. You're gonna make mistakes. It's okay. Do it. I started this podcast 2 months ago. I had no light. I had no mic. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna up and do it, man. I'm gonna fucking do it. And I'm building a studio now, and slowly, I'm getting better and bigger about it, right? So, anyways, Anton, so you met Felipe. We connected with him. And what year was that? Year 2000? COVID, first year.
COVID to 2020, I think.
2020. Okay,
2020.
We met me and my wife met you in 2001. August, July time, I think was summertime. Right? Okay. When I met you, I saw this, handsome Russian guy sitting there, charming personality. By the way, I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm not kissing your butt. I knew when I met you that you were gonna do something special, man. You and a few other guys there. I told my wife, I go, listen, he's gonna be something special. I have this gut feeling when I see some people, the question they ask, how they treat people around them, and how they provide value. That's one thing about you, Anthony. I always found amazing. You always provide value. You know what I mean? Most people want to take information out of you. You're always the one who want to help and give. At that time when I met you in Jacksonville, what were you doing? What was the situation like?
First of all, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Very, very humbling. Really. But yeah, back then I started wholesaling. So going back to that call with Gonzalo, I got on the call. Gonzalo responded to me saying, hey, man, I don't need your money. I don't need anything from you. Can you jump on a call tomorrow morning? That was Friday night. So tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. So Saturday, 8 a.m. I'm there. We jump on a Zoom call just like you and I right now. The guy's in the office taking calls, working. I'm like, Jesus, man, you're a freaking rock star. What are you doing? He's like, no, I just came in the office, got to get some work done. He's very, very chill, very easygoing, but he's a hustler, right? So and one of the biggest things that I love about G is that he focused on wholesaling. He said he we all have this shiny subject syndrome that we just want to go after whatever is a new shiny thing is. And Gonzalo just focused 100% on wholesaling. He said, I want to become the best wholesaler in Jackson. So that was one of the things that really attracted me to him. And we jumped on a call. He gave me a crash course on wholesaling in 1 hour. And for those of you guys that are out there, please do not spend thousands of dollars to learn what wholesaling is. Wholesaling is a very simple concept. It's not an easy job or an easy way to make money, but it is a very simple concept. So definitely, if you're interested, reach out. Like KB said, I would love to give back. I'll jump on a call with you and I'll go through what Gonzalo did for me as well.
I'll provide his links on the bottom of this video. So reach out to him. IG. He's quick to respond right away. No matter where in the world he is, he responds to Anthony. Thank you for doing that. So
especially say you're from KB, and I'll reach out to you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You saying?
I was gonna say when you reach out, say I'm one of KB's listeners. Heard your podcast, and I'll definitely connect with you 100%.
Awesome, man. Yes, you're awesome, dude. Gonzalo, like you said something that got me to me. You said that he's very chill, but he's a hustler. It's so interesting. When I think of a hustler, I'm thinking they're fast talking. He's the opposite. He's a chill, mellow. But you're right. He's a killer, bro. That's the art of itself, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we all have our personalities. I think we all have our ways of doing things. But the most important things that I could take away from a hustler is no matter the good days or bad days, you got to come in and put in the work. Each day counts. You just got to show up and do the work. Don't think that you are spinning your wheels. And number 3, focus. Like I said, focus on one thing and become really good at it before you jump to the next thing. A lot of people just jump from one thing to another, and then it's like a ship without a rudder, the whole law of attraction. If you don't know where you're going, anyway, it's going to lead you there. So you got to know exactly where you're going, and every single day take steps to get there. And that's what Gonzalo did since he started. We each have our own personalities. So I know a lot of people who are just type A, go, and they're doing great. And then there's a lot of type A's, go, and they just don't have the focus. Focus is, I think, the number one thing that separates those.
Number one. I agree with you.
So yeah. So Gonzalo was one of those hustlers who just came in and put in the work and focused and said, you know what, I'm going to be the number one wholesaler, and that was his goal. And I made it my goal to I put a number in my journal, and I said I want to make $50,000 from wholesaling this year. Again, don't shoot. Yes, we all heard shoot for the stars. Great, Of course. Long-term 25-year goals, definitely make them as big, as crazy as possible. If they don't make you uncomfortable, then they're not big enough yet. But that's 10, 15, 25-year goals. For those of you who do not know this, but one of my biggest things is Starbucks. It took Starbucks 25 years to become the number one, what they are today.
Yeah.
Right. So don't think that overnight success in my book, I don't think it exists. It's hours and nights and nights and nights of putting in the work, just like KB is doing in terms of his podcast right now. If he wouldn't do this episode number, I'm not sure what episode number this is, but episode 500 would not happen without this episode.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter. Come in, put in the work, and get there. It's steps. And then so that year I did $56,000 in wholesaling. I reached my goal. That was great. I thought I was doing amazing. And so I don't know which way you want to take the story, because there's so many things that we're talking about right now here.
Whatever's coming to you.
Sure. Yeah. So that year, I really, just like I said, I wanted to become really, really good at wholesaling. I forgot house hacking. I forgot flipping. I forgot buy and hold. And I just started wholesaling. I still had my W-2. I would come in, have my W-2, come in at night and do 2 hours of cold calling. Cold calling sucked. For those of you who do cold calling, you know how bad it is. It sucks, but you got to do it. I'm going to say out there right now, we own the #1 cold calling company in the nation, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you've never done cold call, don't come and hire us, because you really got to put in the work and really know what cold calling is.
To appreciate what you guys do.
Exactly. What Gonzalo said. Gonzalo didn't share his secrets with me right away. He said, pull a list, get the phone numbers by skip tracing the list, and pick up the phone and start dialing. That's exactly what I did. It sucked. But KB, like I said, every single day you got to put in that work. You get better and better and better at everything that we do. Whenever we start, we suck at it. But the more work we put in, the more reps we put in, eventually we become really, really, really good. And I don't want to say I became really good, but you start thinking of ways of working smarter, not harder. So I did my first deal. I was super excited. I made like $2,500 in that deal. Like I said, guys, don't think that your first couple of deals are going to be $20,000-$30,000 that you see on Instagram. Small deals, it doesn't matter. Going back to Gonzalo really quick, guys, $4 million of wholesaling fees. If you look at his roster of all the wholesaling fees that he did in his office, and he's very open about it. If you go into his office, he has all the assignment fees up there. Yep. A lot of them are like $1,000 here, $2,000 here, $750 here, $5,000 here. So put in the work and get those reps in. It doesn't matter how much you make from your first deals, but that experience is going to take you a long way. So I did my first deal, $2,500, and I'm like, gee, man, this is crazy, man. How do you do all these cold calls? How many cold callers do you have in your office? And he was like, dude, I don't have any cold callers in my office. I outsource them all. What? I was like, no way, you didn't tell me that. That's a part you skipped on our first call. How come you didn't tell me that? And he said, because I wanted you to put in the reps. I wanted you to understand what it is. So again, for those of you, if you're interested in starting in wholesaling and cold calling, do the work yourself first before reaching out to experts, because you got to understand how the process works. And again, reach out to me. I would love to jump on with you guys, and I would push you to make your first 50 calls yourself, to pick up the phone and make an introduction. Say, hey, I would like to buy your property. Long story short, he told me that he was hiring outsourcing. Done. Say less, my man. I started hiring people. Boom, boom, boom. I started posting on Facebook, on Craigslist, anywhere that I could, looking for a cold caller. I went through about 4 or 5 cold callers before I found one good one. And I started having one cold caller that I would train, I would manage, and I would just have them do the calls for me. Felipe reaches out. Felipe is like, hey, Anton, no, I'm sorry. Take a step back. He calls me on Rat Race to Fi, the mastermind that we were talking about before. He was like, look, man, I'm in to talk about what you're doing, because you're doing pretty well, and you just started, so you need to inspire people and push them too. Sure. I came in on their call. I talked about what I was doing. I talked about how I'm using a cold caller to do my calls, and I'll do the acquisitions. And next thing you know, of course, next day everybody's like, hey man, can you help me find a cold caller? So people start blasting you on Slack from the mastermind, like, hey, can you help me find a cold caller? Sure. KB, and like I said in the beginning, lead with value, guys. I started looking for people for free. I didn't charge people at all, because I'm like, look, man, this is mastermind. And again, going back to the power of law of attraction, power of karma, whatever you put out in the world, you're going to get 10 times back. I guarantee you guys. Don't be afraid to put out work. And of course, don't let people take advantage of you, but genuinely add value to people that you think need that the most. So in the beginning, I just started helping people find a call. Yeah, here's my ad that I post on Craigslist. Go find it. I mean, I would answer the questions. Of course, I would expect people to put in the work themselves too. Hey man, I'm having issues with my ad. Great. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. What's going on? help them do that. And then people are like, oh man, great, thank you. Felipe finds out. Felipe was like, hey man, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm helping people find cold callers. Oh, that's awesome, man. Can you help me find a cold caller? I'll pay you. And again, back with leading value. Like, no, Felipe, you don't have to pay me. It's like, no, man, this is your time. You're putting in the time. I gotta pay. It's like, look, bro, you gave me enough already with your mastermind. Felipe, going back to him, he's a normal guy, but he always leads with value. He always adds value. If you guys follow him on IG, you see how much content he puts out. And he doesn't do it to get, to be honest with you, any benefit for himself, but to really kick you in the ass and tell you to go out there and do what he did. Because like KB said, there's nothing that sets us apart.
100%.
Yeah. So Felipe, and for Felipe at KB, I took my time. I'm like, look, man, this is Felipe. This is the guy that
top dog.
Yeah. So I'm like, I took 2 weeks. I found him 2 cold callers. I'm like, look, man, here's 2, because one of them is definitely not going to work out, because, you know, you have to manage them, train them, have the, you know, make sure you can work together with them. He's like, dude, I got to pay you. I'm like, bro, you don't got to pay me nothing. Enjoy, have fun, grow. Let me know how I can help. It's like, no, man, you took 2 weeks. I know you put in the hours. Come on, please. Let me know how much I owe you. Nothing, bro. See ya. Ciao. Bye. 2 months go by. I'm doing my thing. Felipe's doing his thing. And then Felipe calls me one day. Hey, Edson, I got a question for you. I'm like, oh, by that time, so 2 months go by, after having that conversation with Felipe.
Yeah.
And he convinced me. He's like, man, you're putting in the work. And I'm like, you know what? I am putting in the work. Let me put in a little bit more work and charge people. So I started charging people $1,000, and I'm not saying that with anything. But again, going back to not going back, but moving forward, there's so many things in my mind right now. But if you have to put out your genius out to the world. You have something that you can add value with. Once you figure that out, whatever it is, don't be afraid to start charging for it. For 2 reasons. Number one, you have to respect your time.
Sure. 100%.
Number 2, if people don't pay for it, they don't see value in it.
They don't respect it.
They don't respect it, and they don't see value in it. Imagine people. I'm sure many of your listeners been to conferences for free, probably, where others paid $20,000 to be there. 100%. And I guarantee you, the person that was there for free got nothing out of it compared to the person that paid $20,000 for it. Went out of there and just started hustling.
I agree.
So you're adding value both ways, to yourself and to your client.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to charge for your services. Eventually, in the beginning, you want to be good at it. But I got to a point where I'm like, all right, this is good. I can find a cold caller. I can interview them, and I can make sure they're trained before I pass them on. So I started charging people $1,000 to do this. And I did about 5 to 10 people that I did that for. But really quickly, Felipe, for those of you who know him,
shout out to Felipe,
idea guy. And he's like, man, what are you doing? Because then I started posting on IG, hey, if you need a cold caller, let me know. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm finding people cold call. He's like, so you just find a cold call and you just give it to them? I'm like, yeah, and I charge them some money and that's it. He's like, but what happens if they don't work out? I don't know. He's like, why don't we just take a step back and make this into a business? And going back to my zone of genius is finding the right people and connecting them to the right people, right? That was my zone of genius. Felipe's zone of genius was to have a vision and plant it in the future in terms of what this could look like. So we came together and we're like, all right, this is we're onto something. Let's make this into a service. Let's make this into a product. Let's make this into something that adds value, and we don't have to go through cold callers. Let's hire, manage, train, do everything on the back end, and let people use our cold callers for a monthly fee. Long story short, 2 years in, we have about 310 people on our staff, amazing workers.
Amazing.
And then we're at about 229 clients as of today. I mean, it's not a lot, but at the same time, it's 2-year growth. So we have a lot bigger goals this year, looking into other sources of value add to the business and to the wholesaler, to you, but to you and your listeners.
That's amazing. So I remember you called me that night after mastermind. Hey, do you want to get a person from REI call center? I didn't know it was your company. I'm like, oh, he's probably helping Felipe or something, right? We never. So me and my wife never got to wholesaling. We skipped them doing our thing. But I had guys calling me after that from the mastermind. Hey, what do you think about this guy, Anthony? What do you think about the thing? And I think that it was amazing the way you guys started 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And I watch you on social media, guys. If you're not following Anton, you're missing out. Follow him. I mean, he travels the world. I see him doing his meetings and international meetings with his people. and you could just see the amount of work and sincere effort he's putting into the team. Man, and I salute you, man. I salute you, man, for the stuff you have done in a time frame. I'm gonna wrap up and we have about 10 minutes left. So I have a question for you guys. It's really hard for me to determine. How do you remain so humble and so nice? Because people say, man, you're so successful, you have so many things going on for you. Either you're faking, you're faking being a nice guy. I know personally you're an amazing soul. How do you stay humble, man?
That's a great question. That's a great question. And I don't really think about that question in terms of I have to stay humble. I always think of it that you have to be yourself. People, if you're a good person, the more you get, I think you multiply that. You also have to have people in that you I don't want to call admire, but for example, for me, one of the biggest people that I follow and look up to is Richard Branson. And I see how he leads and I see how he treats his people. He's a freaking billionaire and he acts like you have to be humble. You cannot let your ego take over no matter what happens. We will, the more successful we get, we start having these thoughts. I'm like, oh, I'm better than this, I'm better than that. And then you realize you're not. You're really not. You're a person that it was blessed to add value to this world, and you have a gift. And thank God that I was able to find that gift early enough. And for those of you who are listening who have not found that gift yet, I'm sure you know what it is. You just haven't really expressed it to yourself. You haven't built it out of yourself. I know you know that you're good at something, and just add that to the world. I'm also a really huge reader. I'm a huge reader. One of my biggest the books that I love the most, for those of you who haven't read it or have not heard about it, is called The Surrender Experience. And in that book, the author talks about how he surrendered to the flow of life. You have to, bad things will happen, good things will happen. You will find good people on your path, bad people on your path, but you have to trust the universe, trust the law of attraction that we were talking about, that the future is where you are headed to. You must have that vision. You must have that goal. You must know where you're going. And whatever happens day to day, bad or good, know that there's a reason why this is happening. And Surrender Experience is a phenomenal book. Again, the guy is a billionaire. He started as a monk, and then he not a monk, he just meditated all day.
Sure.
And he just let life take over, and then he built companies, and then he's a billionaire now. But he's a great.
What's it called? I'm gonna order it right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. You have to read it. It's called The Surrender Experience.
Awesome. So that's my next question I'm gonna get into. Thank you for sharing that. What's your daily habits of success, right? So some people say, hey, I'll give you an example. KB, I wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, I do workouts, and I do this, da, 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 da. Some say, you know what, man, that doesn't work for me. I wake up 8 o'clock in the morning. Some say I wake up 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm up to 4 o'clock working international time. I work with people in Spain, in Pakistan, in Russia. Tell me your story, man. What do you do daily for your success? And
awesome. So just like KB said, there's no one pill that fits everybody. There's no one way. So if somebody wakes up at 4 in the morning, does what that may work for them. I do have a discipline. I don't wake up at 4 in the morning. I wake up at 6 in the morning. I go to the gym, but you have to have some sort of a discipline and the flow of life. You have to have some sort of a schedule that you follow. You cannot just let people come in from outside and take over whatever it is that you're doing. So you must have a schedule. You must have few things that you do every single day that you are disciplined on. So just to give you an example from my end is, I wake up, no matter what time I wake up and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. I work out 5 days a week. I think gym is whatever gym or whatever exercise you decide to do is very, very, very good for your mind and body. I meditate at least 3 times a week. Meditation is not easy. And everybody's like, oh, I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to do it every single day. Don't do that, guys. Start small and start building those habits. For me, 3 times a week is enough. I meditate, I visualize. 3 times a week is enough. So I guess those 3, and then the last one, KB, this is probably the most important one that I started doing about 6 months ago that really had the most effect on my life, is at the end of the day, write 3 wins for that day. So morning, what you're grateful for, the 3 things you're grateful for. Gym, your day-to-day, you have a schedule. Hopefully you do follow a schedule, but start small and build on it. At the end of your day, please guys, sit down and just write 3 wins for the day. That does 2 things. Number 1, it ends the day on a good note. No matter how bad or good that day was, you can still find something that you did that was good. Even if you went to the gym and did 5 more minutes of exercise, even if you bought your wife some flowers, that's a win, right? So write 3 wins for the day that lets your day to end good, and you go to bed calm and just like, all right, this was a good day. And number 2, what it does is it really sets you up for success, right? You focus on winning. You go to bed subconsciously, you think about, this was a good day. No matter what could have happened this day, you start on a good note, you end on a good note. And then in the middle, guys, just develop some sort of a discipline of getting a workout in, making sure you do have some family time. I'm a huge calendar guy. So one of the things that Felipe and Diego taught me is that use your calendar, right? Because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. Yeah, things might happen. Like this podcast, KB had a schedule the other day, and then my flight got all screwed up. So definitely use a calendar. But the 2 things: what you're grateful for in the morning, and what are your 3 wins at the end of the day. And you will see your life change, and your mindset are just going to be completely different.
That's amazing, Anthony. You know, I'm going to add to that. Someone told me to do a money statement. I don't know if you heard of money statement. For example, if you, Tom Jones, listening to this podcast, and you made $50,000 last year, for example, you should have a money statement times 3. So you say, I am happy and grateful for earning $150,000 or more a year. So every year you do the 3 times prior year, and you do that 20 times. And don't forget to put the word I am. I am is the most powerful words in law of attraction. They say overall in human in our time, I am. And put anything after I am, you tell your subconscious mind to program it. So you're putting it out there. The gratitude thing, bro, yeah, 100%. Look, man, I follow Patrick Bet-David, I follow Tony Robbins, all the greats, right? And every one of them talk about the same thing over and over again. Gratitude. To be in a state of gratitude is huge. For example, I just asked you a question. I say, hey, Anthony, how do you stay humble? Most people also tell me that, hey, the gratitude makes them humble. So when you're grateful for what you have, you don't get arrogant. Your mind doesn't go in places that you think of the shit. So good stuff, Anthony. Man, dude, where can we find you, man?
Thank you. I will definitely write that down. The money statement. It's a golden one that I got out of this interview. Yeah, definitely. Instagram is the number 1 way to reach out to me. Anton Z REI. I'm also big on email. Anton@reicallcenter.com is the email. Reach out, guys, any way that I can help. Again, go out there, start asking for help. You'll be surprised how many people are open and willing to help you. And the most importantly is take action. Don't just sit there. Don't just listen to this and use this as entertainment. Use this to go out there and do something today that's going to take you to that next level that you have your vision for the next 25 years. KB, thank you so much for having me. This has been a great interview.
Thank you, Anton. And before I let you go, why would I hire REI call center? I'm a real estate agent. Can I hire you guys for calling my prior leads, or explain me more about REI Call Center before we let you go?
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for this quick plug-in at the end. So REI Call Center is a cold calling company that helps realtors, investors, wholesalers, solar companies to make their outbound lead generation. So you have inbound leads when people call you. You can do outbound leads by driving for dollars. You can send mailers, or you can do cold calling. At REI Call Center, we have people and processes in place to have to make your cold calling and outbound lead generation as efficiently, as quickly as possible, so that you can go out there and close more deals and make a lot more money on either your wholesaling deals, your investors, or if you're a realtor, if you're looking for listings. We do have a team specifically for realtors, a team specifically for solar companies, and a team specifically for wholesalers and investors.
Guys, think about that. And like, I want to go back to Anton. If you're a new real estate agent, you're a rookie real estate agent, if you're a rookie wholesaler, a solar guy or girl, do it yourself. I'll say, from my 2 cents, I've been in the real estate game for 5 years, been in sales and marketing for 20 years. Do it for at least 2 months. Get yourself to really appreciate what REI Call Center are going to do for you. maybe not 2 months, maybe a month or so, but do it. Give yourself a target 30, 40 calls a day and struggle. You're going to make a mistake, struggle, do it. It's okay. But I want to, I'm going to let you guys go, but quickly, REI Call Center has been operating for 2 years. And I can tell you from just talking to him and watching social media, they were in the bottom when it started, like most companies are, and they took off and they're going places. So if you want to get, there are a lot of companies out there that are offering what Anton's offering. The reason why I suggest my audience to call Anton, his company, because quality over quantity. That's one thing. I know a lot of wholesalers that I have worked with, I talked to, that they're his clients, and they told me over and over again that no, REI Call Center, the phone reps are trained, the rebuttals are there, they have everything system set up. So go ahead, call REI Call Center. I will put Anton's information in the bottom. Anton, I love you. Thank you for joining us today, man. You're awesome. And next time in Miami, we'll have to do dinner, man.
Please, KB. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for jumping on board, man.